This video is sponsored by OneFootball. If you need a new football app on your phone, OneFootball is the place to go. You can select Celtic as your favourite team, and that'll give you all the latest Celtic news, transfer speculation, fixtures, and even live match updates if for any reason you can't make or watch a game. You can also add widgets to your home screen to keep up to date with Celtic's next fixture, who it's against, what the kick-off time is, all that stuff. And you can track leagues from across the world, league tables, top goal scorers, you name it, you'll find it all there on the OneFootball app. You can download it by clicking the link in the description of this video. It's free, absolutely free, wherever you get your apps on your phone. And it's a great way to support Celtic Fans TV. So if you haven't downloaded it already, please click the link below and get involved. Happening, folks, welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's a post-match pint here from Malone's in Glasgow. I've got Darren with me to look back over Celtic 2, Hearts 0, as Celtic move 2 points clear at the top of the table. Malone's is on Sauchiehall Lane. We're here every week. If you're in the area, get yourself in for a beer. It's always a brilliant atmosphere up the stair. Darren, a massive win today. A really tough game, I thought, though. Hearts give you tough games. They never seem to go away. They always find a way to stay in it, and they did that. But it was a hard-fought 3 points and a big 3 points considering yesterday's results.
I thought we started the game actually really well. First half was really good. Probably couldn't ask for a better start. I think we pressed and pretty much the whole first half was spent. Our centre halves on the halfway line, Hearts penned back, and it was looking good. And I think when we got the goal, you're sitting there subconsciously thinking that the form the team's in, we might go on and push and win a game comfortably. But sometimes these things aren't the case, like especially at home when teams sit back deep, as they are going to be frustrating. And I think these things did happen a lot last season, and we like complain about it, and we know it's not easy on the eye, and some supporters might leave the ground saying no, it wasn't the best game. But realistically, you're walking out with 3 points and a clean sheet, 4 out of 4 wins. We can't really complain about it, to be honest.
That's one of the things I was saying to the boys outside the stadium. Like, it's not going to be easy every week. That's not what winning the league title is about, and we've seen that time and time again last season and have done for years. There's going to be games where it's no pretty, and you need to see out spells of pressure for the opposition, particularly against a team like Hearts. But I thought we started the game really well, as seems to be the case all the time with Postecoglou's team. They come at the traps flying. We scored a great goal. I think it's Turnbull into Maeda. Right hand side this time, as opposed to last week over for the left, but very similar goal. Kyogo's in the right position, right in the middle of the goal. It was a textbook Ange goal, but also a Kyogo goal. Mm-hmm. That low cut back in the right position to finish it.
I actually said that to my dad during the game. Pretty much every one of Kyogo's goals this season, Ross County, Kelly, and today, they've all been that penalty box area where he's had it cut back to him, and that, like, I think we spoke before, that he's not in the game a lot, and again, because he can't really get involved in the game because he likes to play off the shoulder, and sometimes you can't do that when teams are sitting so far back. But he sits on the periphery, and then he only needs that one chance to get in the game. And I think it's so effective. I think he's opened the scoring now 3 games in a row for us, and especially when you're at Celtic Park and teams come to frustrate you, it's so important to get an early goal. And I think he's done that. So I think that's why he's justifying the manager starting him, because there has been this big debate on who starts. Because Giakoumakis says scoring when he comes off the bench, but for Kyogo to open the scoring for 3 games now, it's vital.
Absolutely. See, just in terms of the lineup today, I thought Starfelt would get the nod at centre half, just because I thought if the manager had the option to go back to that pairing for last season, he would have done. And I thought Hatate would come back into midfield for Turnbull. Would you make of the starting lineup? Because that's the 3rd week in a row it's been unchanged. Did you expect Jens to start?
I did. I just think the manager's very stubborn in that way. He sticks to a winning formula. Jens has obviously come in for Starfelt being injured in the whole first place, and he's done really well. He's obviously got 2 goals, but defensively as well, I think he's been pretty good defensively. He's not just a defender, he's a football player. And I think that's obviously what the manager wants, and a defender, somebody that can take the ball, because obviously we've spoken millions of times about playing it for the back. I think it just looks very comfortable in that. Not to have a go at Starfelt, I'm not, because he's never been that kind of guy who's good with the ball at his feet. But I think that's why Jens is kind of getting the nod for now. Going forward, I really don't know. Once Starfelt's up to match speed, I don't really know who's going to get the nod. But it's a good headache for the manager. Realistically, I'm not going to complain who gets the nod, because I like both of them. What about you?
I thought Starfelt would come in today, just because, again, the partnership for last season was brilliant. It obviously took some time to gel, but for most of the season they were absolutely brilliant together. It's going to be interesting to see. Ange keeps trying to steer clear of saying that he's got a favoured 11 or a favoured player in a certain position, but we understand what he's trying to do there. He doesn't want MD in the squad to be switched off. Everybody's involved and they are contributing when they come off the bench, but we're going to see in the big games coming up what he thinks the strongest team is. We're going to see it against Rangers and we're going to see it when these Champions League games start. And I think that's the Rangers game and then the first group stage game, the centre half pairing and the midfield lineup, that will be when we can say that's what he thinks the strongest team is. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. We had good control of the game in the first half. Should probably have had another goal for the dominance, because Hearts, there wasn't much in it at all for them in the first half. They had one chance on the break where I think the ball was going out to Maida on the right hand side. He's took a heavy touch. They've countered and Ginelli's got in because Taylor, we're in possession, so Taylor's gone inside the pitch and there's space on the right hand side. Ginelli gets in, really poor finish, he skews it wide. That was their biggest chance. Apart from that, there was not too much for them in the first half. Do you think we should maybe have had a better lead for our dominance in that period?
Aye, as you say, it's like at Celtic Park we're always going to have a ball and we're always going to be playing in the opposition area. I think the end product, or the final ball, was lacking a lot today. I think, especially the first half, most of it was down the left-hand side with Jota. And what I noticed is he was the Hearts fullback, he was taking him on pretty much every chance he got. And he was running down to the byline instead of crossing it in with his left foot. He was always cutting inside, and I think he maybe overplayed it at times, because I thought Maeda and Kyogo were busting a gut for most of that first half, trying to get in the box, and the chance was there to put in maybe a low-driven ball, and we could have, the same way the first goal went in. But I think Jota maybe overplayed it a few times, so that not even just the first half, I think the whole game, the final ball maybe lacked a wee bit, but these things will happen. Like, we can't go out and score 5 the way we did last weekend. Can't do that every single game as much as we would like to. The main thing is that when you win 5-0, when you play well, it's important that you win when you don't play necessarily great, and I think we've done that today.
I thought over the course today, the crossing when we get into wide areas is really poor. Really poor.
Yeah, right.
It could have been better, particularly in the second half, because Hearts had their spell in the second half, but whenever we got up the pitch, we were working the ball into good crossing positions, but the end product just wasn't there. What do you think the main factors were in Hearts getting their spell in the second half? Do you think there was a bit of a dip for us? I noticed Boyce was peeling out to the right hand side, our left hand side. He won a few flick-ons. That was getting them up the pitch. They had a lot of corners that we had to defend. What do you think sort of changed it in the second half?
I think the tempo died down a lot. Like, we came out the second half and like it was very slow. It was very passive. And I almost felt as if we played as if we were a team that we felt, right, we're 1-0 up, let's just play comfortably. They need to come at us and they need to score, so it's almost like we don't really need a second goal. But
that's unlike an Ange team. Yeah,
100%, and no, we're sitting here having a goal and we're not going to complain about it. But I think the tempo was slow for that 15-20 minutes in the second half, sorry. But I feel like when the subs came on, i.e. Abada and Hatate, it did kind of swing back in our favour a wee bit. The tide did swing back in our favour. And after that initial 20-minute spell, I mean, there's always that fear factor that when you're 1-0 up, that the team coming here can sit and nick a goal. But I think we managed the game well in the second half after that dip. And luckily, right at the last kick, after the 2 red cards, obviously, we got another goal.
That's a theme this weekend, isn't it? 2 red cards. I think Hatate really helped us. I thought he was taking hardly any touches. He was playing the way he was facing, 1 and 2 touches, playing it forward. Really helped us up the tempo in midfield, as you say, because it had dipped in the second half. And that's going to happen from time to time. We can't be full throttle for 90 minutes.
No, definitely not.
As much as we want to be and as much as the manager wants to be, players are human beings. I thought Hatate did help us when he came on. He had a big chance though, and Matt O'Reilly had a big chance as well. In the second half, we had well had a bit of a storm, defended the corners, and I think it's maybe a Jota cutback or a Taylor cutback, and O'Reilly's coming on it to meet it. Vosture makes a good save, comes back out to Hatate, skews it wide, and until we got the second goal, that was the big chance of the second half on it.
You're right, we didn't really get many clear-cut chances in the second half, but as I say, there always is that fear factor that when you're 1-0 up, a team can nick a goal, and if Hearts did get a goal during their good spell, that's when the crowd would start getting nervous, the players would start getting nervous, and there was that chance to put the game to bed there. But realistically, the end product today, it wasn't great. We did have half chances. I wouldn't say we'd missed any sitters or anything, but I think if the final ball was better the day and we did have a clear-cut chance, we probably would have put the game to bed earlier. But listen, you do have days like this where you're not going to win comfortably and you will have a scare, but it shows good character, I think, that when you can get through your difficult spells and see out the game, basically, because there's last couple of years, even during the start of Ange's tenure, before he really got his strong squad together, like, we weren't seeing out games sometimes. I thought, like, we can maybe drop the odd points here, and that was right at the start of last season. Obviously, it got better as we progressed, but now with the team, with how good a depth we've got and how settled the team are and how confident they are, I really think that even on bad days like this, where we could only show up and go into third gear, and I think we'll still beat pretty much most teams in this league.
I think we do look really strong, and one of the things that I was impressed with today was actually the crowd, because it was a great turnout. We hear all the time these games are sold out because the club have sold the general sale tickets and the season ticket holders are obviously there, but then it ends up 2,000 or 3,000 people don't turn up. But it was as close to full as you get for a run-of-the-mill league game today. And I thought the crowd were patient with the team, because Hearts did have the wee spell, and we weathered it, and we did well. The team seen it out, and we got the second goal at the end. But I thought the crowd were really, really patient, and that's a sign of the relationship.
Trust.
They trust in what Ange is doing, and they back this team. And I thought that the crowd were brilliant today. 36 league games unbeaten. That's no bad, is it?
No, it is. It's genuinely it's phenomenal. I remember that last league game we lost against Livingston to Tony Macaroni, and like even the difference, you know, I was just going on about 12 months. Like, to think a year without losing a league game, and not only 4 or 5 draws, maybe that's phenomenal. Like, that's a great level of consistency. Even looking back at like the Invincibles team for 5 years ago, like, there could be a debate that this team now is probably, like, in the last 20 years, or maybe not 20 years, the last 10, 15 years, this is probably the best Celtic team. What do you think about that?
It's maybe recency bias, mate, but I would say I think the style that Ange's team plays in it's different. The tempo's different, the energy's different, and because of the situation that he inherited, you contrast that with Rodgers, who he did bring in some good players that first season. We played really good football, went unbeaten, won the treble. It was amazing, but Ange inherited an absolute mess, and he fixed it single-handedly. And the style the team plays in, I think, is definitely more entertaining. The tempo's quicker. There's less of an emphasis on keeping possession for the sake of it. I think there's obviously some tactical nuances between them, but I think this is the most entertaining Celtic team to watch that I've been lucky enough to follow. I said last season was my favourite season following the club because of where we came from, because we were written off before the season started. We turned it around, we won a League and Cup double, and I'm just massively excited for what this season has in store with the Champions League. Giakoumakis comes off the bench, gets a goal, customary goal. Every time he's in the pitch he scores. I actually posted something on the Celtic Fans TV TikTok this week of the Rio Ferdinand clip where he's talking about Ronaldo and Messi. He's like, listen, stop debating who's better.
Stop comparing them. Let's just
enjoy them.
Yep.
That's where I'm at with Kyogo and Giakoumakis, because they've got such different qualities, and we've spoke about it so often. But Giakoumakis comes on, gets a goal. Kyogo opens the scoring. Same last week. Both of them contributing. And as I say, when these midweek games, European games start, there's going to be a lot more rotation. So Giakoumakis will get his chance to start. I've got absolutely no doubt about that. But the important thing is, along with other players in the squad, when he comes off the bench, he's so determined to contribute and make an impact.
I think it's really hard for the manager now, because gone are the days where, the old classic 4-4-2 where he could play two strikers. Like, those days are long gone. Pretty much every team these days plays like a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, so there only is room for one striker. But with these two guys, they're so uniquely gifted, but at the same time they're so different. And it all just depends. I think it depends on which team. Like, the manager will know better than me and you. He'll study the team that we're going to play and have his thoughts about how they're going to set up, and then he'll make his judgment for there as to who he's going to start. He's obviously got Kyogo is probably his favourite just now, and to me it makes sense just to start him because we're 4 out of 4 and we're looking really good, and both of them are Giakoumakis is coming off the bench and scoring. it could be the other way about, where if Giakoumakis starts and he takes a while to get into the game, and then by that point he's coming off for Kyogo, who can't get in the game at the time. So it makes perfect sense to do, and I think Giakoumakis, like, if he was in any other team, he would feel hard done by, because his goals ratio, and I think he's averaging a goal, I think it's like every 89 minutes or something, and it's actually better than Kyogo's, but Kyogo does offer that sort of difference. Like, he plays like kind of false nine. Kyogo is more, Giakoumakis is just there for a goal scorer. Kyogo does a bit more. I mean, you look at that ball he played through for Jota last week at Kelly when we were 2-0 up. Like, that's Giakoumakis kind of do things like that. So it is like, we're just blessed to have two very, very talented strikers. You know, unfortunately, only one can play at a time. But I mean, we just need to roll with it.
Aye, and it's working for us, as you say. Both of them contributing, even though Giakoumakis has started on the bench so far this season. But as I say, that is going to change. Thursday, mate, it's the Champions League group stage draw. I've been looking forward to this from the day that we won the league. I've been counting the days. You can watch the Champions League draw on Thursday. We're going to be doing a live stream watch along of the full draw. We'll be on about an hour before it starts, and we'll be there right through, and we'll run however long after. Absolutely buzzing for it. Who do you want?
I think for everybody that I'm speaking to and hearing that interviews with the
Madrid,
players, it's Real Madrid. I think I mentioned in a group chat the other day, part of me wants one glamour tie and two beatable teams. The last thing I want is a group of death, mate. Like, we're up against, like, realistically, you could get Real Madrid, Liverpool, and I don't know, say
Napoli or something.
Bayer Leverkusen. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
What I would like is a glamour tie and two beatable teams. What about yourself?
I think there's about at least an 80% chance we'll get a group of death. It's so unlikely that we'll get a group where you think, do you know what? Because even the teams, I watched a bit of Porto last night. They were playing Sporting Lisbon. It finished 3-0, and I watched the first half. And Porto have lost some players, as of Sporting Lisbon. They're both in the draw. Strong teams, though. Really strong teams. And pot 1, I think you could argue, is not as strong as pot 2, because Eintracht Frankfurt, Europa League winners, are in there. Porto are in there. Ajax are in pot 1. Pot 2 is just as strong, if not stronger.
Yeah, right,
so obviously we know we're going to get some really, really tough teams, but I would like Real Madrid the same as everybody else, because we've not played them since 1980. Never seen Celtic play Real Madrid competitively in my lifetime, so it'd be great to go to Madrid as well. I wouldn't mind an English team, just because I think that always adds an edge to it. We've got a decent record against English teams.
Scottish-English derby.
Even though the gulf is growing year on year, Rodgers' team get 2 draws against Man City. I would like an English team, but I was looking at the pots last night, and there's hardly anybody that I don't want. I think PSG and maybe Barcelona are the only 2 teams that I don't really fancy, because we've played them recently. I've played Barcelona so often, and I can't stand the sight of PSG, but it's just so exciting. What a prospect it is to go into that draw on Thursday, and who knows where it'll take us.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, excuse me. I think there was a possibility of, like, I kind of ran it through my head, like the hardest group, the easiest group, and the group that I'd like. And I think I seen a group that was Eintracht Frankfurt, Sevilla, and I think it was Napoli. I think second is achievable for that group, but on the caveat to, like, the group of death, I'm not being big-headed, but I think always got to back your team, I suppose. But on the caveat to that is the group of death, where we don't want to get 3 teams who are far superior to us and getting. And
try and keep the score down.
Aye, exactly. I think it's the comparison I've been making to myself recently is teams we play domestically. We have 10 times their budget, and their game plan is to come to us and try and nick a draw. And then when we go 2 or 3-0 up, their game plan changes to try and just stop us from scoring 4 and 5. The last thing I want that to be in Europe is us, because there is a realistic chance that these teams, they have 10 times our budget, and if we go there and we try and take the game to them as Rodgers did against PSG and Barcelona, there is the chance that they could put 6 or 7 past us.
See, just on that, right? I think the difference, Rodgers, when he went to Barcelona, did something a wee bit different, and he played 5 at the back, which he'd never done, and it obviously backfired and we get trounced. PSG was different because he actually went to try and, like, press PSG, and it worked for about 90 seconds.
I think we went 1-0 up, didn't we?
1-0 up, aye, and then it finished 7-1. So people often say that about Rodgers, but I think that first away Champions League game against Barcelona, he did change. He changed his style. And I asked Ange in the press, me and Ange are mates, by the way, I don't know if you know that.
I heard that, aye.
I spoke to Ange on Friday there, and I asked him, about how does he mentally prepare the players for the step up in Champions League. And he answered it in the way that I thought he would answer it. He said, it's not about looking for a magic bullet. Like, the things that have brought us here are the football, and the answers will be in our football. And nobody can be under any illusions that we're going to try and play the same way we play domestically in Europe. And I think that'll stand us in as good, if not better, stead than if we totally change what we do and go and try and sit behind the ball, because that's not how we play. So how could that set us up better and put us in any improved position to get results against these big teams when it's not what the team do? It's not what the team are drilled in. It's not what they've spent 12 or 14 months working on. So you can't just like flick a switch and totally change how a football team plays when it's not the philosophy. So I think we're going to play in Angie's image in these games, and I'm so excited to see how it plays out. Listen, it might end up 6 games where we're just trying to keep the score down, but I think it's exciting, and I think that gives us a better chance than if we totally change it and go and sit behind the ball.
No, you make a good point, mate, and I think it is important that we do try and test ourselves against these teams, because there is a point now, I think, domestically, Celtic, and you put Rangers in that category as well. I think that compared to maybe the last 10, 20 years, I think we are miles ahead of every other team in Scotland, not just financially, but with the players. So I think, obviously, we were in Europa League last season, and it worked out okay, I suppose, but now is a big test in Champions League. Like, the players obviously must be absolutely buzzing for this, because it's their chance to go and prove themselves on a big stage. Mm-hmm. And for the manager as well, because it's a chance for him to say, look, this is the style that I said from day one that I'm going to bring to this club. This is the style that I'm going to try and play against some of the best teams in the world. And if it works out, brilliant. If it doesn't work out, can say we tried.
Yeah. Aye, absolutely. I agree. Last one on today. So many offsides, man. Honest to God, it must have been about 20 offsides. And so many of them involve likes of Kyogo, Abada, Maeda, players that are really, really quick. And so we know that VAR is going to be introduced back end of this season. And I think that's going to help us. I know there's so much debate about what the impact of VAR is going to be in this country. We'll not spend too long talking about the whole refereeing situation, but the fact is the linesmen are going to need to keep the flags down to let the play develop, and that's going to help us. I can't see a situation where it doesn't help us, because you can't tell me that on 10 or 20 through balls where Kyogo, for example, is rapid and he's getting there and he just looks offside because he's so far ahead, he must be offside. But he'll time some of them, right?
Yep.
And if the flag needs to stay down and the play needs to develop, the ball's going to end up in the net and VAR will need to check it. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something, obviously, that there's so many aspects and different things involved in VAR, penalties, red cards, everything else. But I think in terms of offsides, it's going to help a team like Celtic who play balls in behind for players who are really, really quick, because the reality is defences will get their line wrong and we'll spring it and we'll time it properly when to the naked eye of a linesman it looks offside, but it actually isn't.
No, you make a good point, mate, and I think obviously they've done this down in England and all the big leagues in Europe now, and a lot of grievances people have is that when you have a blatant offside but they still let play go on, and then the caveat to that is you have a player who absolutely has to bust his gut, and then when people start complaining, like, just put the flag up, but as you just rightly said,
can he score a goal if you put the flag up?
As you just rightly said, Dale, when it's so close, and then you have someone like Kyogo or Maeda or Abada, whoever, Jota, when you play on the shoulder of a defender, and you have that quick turn of pace to a defender who will be facing the ball and they'll be on their heels, it does look offside, and that flag went up 10 times a day, not just for like one lane, but both of them.
Both
and there was a bit of grievance in the crowd about it. Obviously, we were at the game, we don't have like 4 or 5 replays, so maybe later in the night we can go watch it back and go, that was onside or that was offside. But you're right, some of them might be onside, and how many goals could we have potentially? We could have killed that game in the first half if maybe 1 or 2 of them were called correctly.
Aye. And I don't know that it might be all the ones that were offside today were actually offside.
Yeah.
But I just think there was that high a volume that with players that we've got in the front three, that they're going to be wrong from time to time. Aye. Because they're so quick, and it's going to look like they're offside when they're not. So it's going to be massively interesting to see how that develops in the second half of this season. That's it for the post-match pint here from Malone's. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts on today's game below, and please don't forget to join us on Thursday for the live Champions League group stage draw watch along. I can't wait for it. I know you can't wait for it as well. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you during the week. Thank you.